Wow, wow, wow. We got a lot of people waiting in the chat already for us. Welcome to a live post-game show here from the Golden One Center. And we got our brother from another mother, man, Robert, in Canada, where a lot of Raptor fans are celebrating a win, a much-needed win for the Raptors. It was a complete blowout. Toronto came into this arena, walked all over the Kings, and they said, "We the North." How you doing, Robert?
I'm all right. I don't appreciate. You know what? It's funny. You expected me to be really optimistic after a blowout loss, but I'm gonna tell you, blowout win. But honestly, this feels like a fake win. This feels like a win against a team that did not show up, a team that is warring with their coach right now, a team that is disjointed, right? I mean, you've watched a lot of Kings games. This was not the Sacramento Kings tonight. All right.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, and it's unfortunate. It just seems like the team is finally checked out from Luke Walton. Whatever they're saying in the locker room, I feel like it's going through one ear, going through the other type thing. They're definitely clocked out, and his job's on the line, man. I don't know if he survives tonight, and if he does, tomorrow, if they show up again like this against the Jazz, he's going to get fired. Like, and again, to me, it makes no difference because it's the same assistant staff. Like, it's the same staff, same scheme, same everything. Unless you go out and you get Mike D'Antoni, which they won't do, it won't be much different. Maybe a different voice could help. Not sure. I'm not a big fan of Gentry in terms of a head coach, especially long term. Could it be a short term solution? Who knows, man? But right now, it's a complete mess. Scottie Barnes, if Raptor fans, Kings fans, if you haven't checked it out, we got a lot of crispy footage for you guys, man. Some real good stuff there on the shorts, on the reels, on Basketball Zone, but also here on YouTube, man. We'll be showing some B-roll throughout as well, man. It was a pleasure to watch my guy, Scottie Barnes, play. And I guess we'll start with that. What did you think about his game tonight?
I feel bad for him. I really do. No, dude, I'm being honest. Like watching this generational passer turn into basically a screen setter for three guys who have like no business really just being alpha scorers on any good team. In my opinion, all of them are, chasing their own personal shit. And it's kind of weird. I think the one play that really sticks out, and I was checking out some Raptor forums as this was going on, and there was that one play where Fred threw that bullet pass right to the corner. And he looked at Scottie like with his hands out, like, what are you doing? And I'm so happy that Scottie stuck up for himself and he gave him the same look back and he hung his hands out. Like, that thing that good teams do when they're cohesive, like even when it's the stupid pass, they just say, my bad. And I like that Scottie did not give him the my bad, that he just gave him the look like, you're not expecting me to catch that and then put it on me because I'm the rook, right? So 7 turnovers for Fred VanVleet tonight. Oh my God. Pascal Siakam had like a terrible game last night, okay, against the Utah Jazz, right? He was terrible. Right. He was downright terrible. Couldn't deal with their length. Couldn't defend a soul. And today, every Raptor fan is like, oh, where are those Pascal Siakam haters now? Everyone hating on Pascal Siakam. Look at him now. And it's like, bro, keep this same energy on Sunday when we face off against Golden State, right? A team that's not currently in disarray, fighting with their coach. Right. Just watch, right? And then it's going to be like, all right. And
you're a hater, Robert. You're a hater.
I'm not a hater. Don't call me a hater. I'm a realist. And I'm watching a team play so far apart. Bro, this is annoying basketball to watch. Like, you were at the game. You tell me, did the Raptors offense look good to you?
Yeah, it did. But the Kings defense was also awful. So, it was one of those things.
If you don't guard a guy, okay, if you don't guard, I've watched every Raptor game this year. I have never seen Pascal Siakam defended this stupidly in my life. It's like, honestly, the Kings are like sabotaging their coach right now. It honestly looks like that.
It really like did.
They just went out. They just went out and they were like, all right, we're not going to stop anybody. We're going to lose by like 50 points. And this guy's going to have to get fired because every coach who's like on the cusp of getting fired, one of these 40, 50 point blowouts, that's the nail, right? And Luke Walton's like, I'm not letting it happen, so I'm going to play a whole bunch of. I'm going to play the end of the bench, and then I'm not going to lose. And then they got back into the game. It was heading for a 40-point loss. You know that.
Yeah.
Right.
Real quick, Vince was at the game too tonight. He was pretty frustrated. Let's get a quick little 2-minute rant before we let him go. But uh, Vince is out here paying tickets, man. Something that the Kings didn't do tonight because Kings fans wasted their money watching this game, unfortunately. A lot of empty seats. So if you guys see his background here, this is a picture taken by Vince where a lot of empty seats. And again, I don't blame fans. The product is ugly right now. You'll never see an empty seat in Toronto. That's all I got to say. Vince, you got 2 minutes, bro.
All right, bro. Well, for 2 minutes, I'll say that it was one of the most embarrassing games I think I've been to in a long time. First off, I thought it was going to be one of those games where we got to see a nice back and forth. You know, the Kings are going to bounce back after a bunch of criticism about after a horrible road trip, right? But then to come home and back after this road trip, I guess a team that is on the second night of a back-to-back that just played hard. You just saw Gary Trent knock down 5 3-pointers, have 31 points in a long game just last night to throw up. They were down by, 32 points at one time?
Yeah,
seriously? It was one of those things where I couldn't believe it, but I got to see a ton of people. That was cool. The fans were trying their best to stay engaged, but man, it was a lot of boo birds. It was man, I don't even think I need the whole 2 minutes, but just to say that it was embarrassing. The Kings' offense stays one-dimensional. It's constantly just one-on-one basketball and pick and roll one time, and then you get a bailout by Harrison Barnes driving to the basket. The Kings would have been out of this game in the first quarter if he didn't get 6 fouls to go to the free throw line. The Kings would have been out of it in the first quarter. They were lucky they were only down by 3. So, but if I do have to say one thing, Robert, bro, your Raptors, they might be real. They might be real. They are not. They
look at Robert. He's like, no.
They are something.
No.
Hey, look,
Vince, you're smarter. You're smarter than this. You're smarter than this.
No, look at this. This is how real they are. They saw an opportunity to get more practice in. They were up by 24 points. They were up by 24 points, and they saw a quick minute of the Kings coming back and dropping into 19. They said, Siakam, Van Vliet, come here. And they brought him back in the game for practice. Not a game, just for the practice.
That's true.
They need practice.
That's a real
They
coach.
need practice.
Right, I agree.
Bro, honestly, I think that's embarrassing.
Look, I don't
That's embarrassing. Like, what message are you sending to your third unit? Like, what message are you sending to your third stringers? That you don't trust them with a 20-point lead?
You're not ready.
Y'all some bums. Y'all ain't ready.
Oh my God!
Hey, Vince.
Look, just because your name is on the roster doesn't mean your name gets minutes. You know what I mean?
This ain't little league.
Look, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Your team, your Raptors team. I get it. They were not the best tonight. They were actually they played pretty bad. If I'm being 100% honest with you, that's why I'm still so frustrated about the Kings.
They did.
Right. They played horrible. Both teams. Not one team came out and I was like, man, that team is the best. But the team, your Raptors team is real. They're the real as they can be. They saw it as a practice opportunity when they're up by 30 points. They brought back in Fred Van Vliet and Pascal Siakam.
Dude.
All right, Vince.
Hey,
Vince, I appreciate you, big dog. See you tomorrow on the pod. All right, man. Thoughts?
Are you kidding me? Okay, look. Honestly, this happens every year, right? There's a big performance by somebody who's struggling against a really bad team. No offense, the Kings tonight were a really bad team. Yep. Honestly, this might be one of the worst teams. The Kings in isolation, if I had not watched 5 Kings games this year, which I have, I would honestly think this is the worst team in NBA history. It's pretty up there.
They played
I'm not even joking. Dude, I can't believe what I'm watching. I mean, Rashawn Holmes doesn't look like Rashawn Holmes. Harrison Barnes does not look like Harrison Barnes. De'Aaron Fox looks like a third stringer. Donovan, like Davion Mitchell was like, his body language was like, what the hell is going on here? So honestly, it's just a team that's disjointed. I get it. Like, look, I remember this thing about you and I are filmmakers, right? And
Yeah.
we always say when you're watching a film, if the director and the DOP were fighting, you know exactly where it is in the film. You can see it. It's the disjointedness. And I'm telling you that both of these teams are going through something very similar. Locker room issues, chemistry issues, a lot of one-on-one basketball. Maybe there's a little bit of, people warring with their coach. I'm not kidding you. Like, I've watched Pascal Siakam walk past Nick Nurse quite a few times, and the looks that he's given him is like, eh. There was that one thing
Dude,
where Gary Trent picked up that
Precious
early foul.
Achua was like talking some smack when he went to the bench today. He was so pissed. I should have recorded that, but I don't know,
At who?
man.
Nick Nurse?
It was somebody on the bench. I couldn't tell who, but he was pissed.
Yeah, I mean, there was this one play I think where Gary Trent picked up his fourth foul, and he goes up to Nick Nurse like, don't pull me out, and then you see Svi get up, and then Gary Trent goes up to the bench, gives dabs to all the coaches except for Nick Nurse. It's kind of like it always comes out later. The Raptors are a really good organization when it comes to keeping a tight lip. Things don't usually get out to the media. You never hear any stories about us, usually, right?
Right.
I guarantee you something is going wrong with this team. I have watched this team for too long to not be able to tell you that something is up with how they're playing, their body language, their effort, etc. Now, I might just be projecting this a little bit because my favorite player is out. OG Anunoby is out. And then my second favorite player, Scottie Barnes, is basically standing around freaking like he's Reggie Evans on offense. And I don't like it. I really don't. Because look, man, yesterday he was asked if he's heard all the Rookie of the Year hype, right? And his response was priceless. What did he say? He said, yeah, I heard it, but I'm not really chasing it. I mean, I'd like to get it, but I'm not chasing. I'm not out here trying to prove that I'm the best rookie of the class. I just want to help my team win. And it's kind of refreshing to have that perspective from a 20-year-old, right? Because rookies, like, Cade's not saying that, and Jalen Green's not saying that. Those guys are saying, yeah, I want that award. I want that trophy. And he's bigger than that. So, it's kind of weird because Scottie plays basketball the way I like basketball being played. Now, I didn't grow up in AAU circuits. Exactly, right? I like guys who move the ball. I like guys who are unselfish. I like guys, who play for each other. This 1-on-5 shit, it doesn't work. It doesn't work unless you have Kobe Bryant. It doesn't work. So people saying like, oh, Gary Trent, like he's going off or whatever. It's like, bro, this is not going to work against a decent team. It's not going to work in the playoffs. I don't like teams playing this way.
Bro,
so this
Gary
win
Trent was
feels
out
like
here airballing things, bro. I was like, oh man, this guy's a 6-man. I'm sorry to tell you that. Like the Kings made him look better than what he really is.
Oh yeah, it happens all the fucking time. But that's the point, right? Like there will be a night where he goes off for 30, 40, whatever, because the team just decides not to show up. And then Raptor fans are like, oh my God, he's a 40-point per game scorer. I'm so sick of this, man. Like, I'm starting to think like maybe I just like need to follow another team or something. Like, can we do that now?
Let's follow the Warriors.
I mean, Warriors on Sunday. My God. Yeah. Like, I mean, honestly, that team is dope. Like, it's really good. Like, the Warriors are amazing. And they've actually got Jonathan Kuminga going now, which is pretty amazing. Right? And he looks good.
Yeah.
Like, he looks pretty good.
Let me pull up a quote by Tyrese. He said, and this is he's referring to Luke Walton. It's not on him. It's not. He did not shoot 32%, or he did not shoot 32 of 84 from the field. He did not shoot 64% at the free throw line. It's on us. Do you call cap or no cap on that?
What's cap?
Like,
as in bullshit or not?
Yeah.
I think Tyrese is genuine. Like, he's a good dude. I think Tristan Thompson, what he was saying was like, it's a little bit passive aggressive, obviously. Like, there is some obviously like, yeah, the coach could be better, but I appreciate guys who approach the game with that stoic mindset, right? Where like it's on us to contribute, but at the same time, like, it's really difficult as a player, any player, talk to any player out there, when the scheme doesn't work and you lose faith in your coach or your teammates for that matter. It's really difficult to sum up that energy because you see you see lack of trust show up on offense and defense. On offense, it shows up in ISO ball, like guys who don't pass the ball to open guys because they don't trust, right? On defense, it shows up too. Guys getting blow-bys because they're I'm not covering for you. Like, I'm not getting a poster, right? Teams that don't play together, they're just hard to watch, especially if you know what you're looking for. And I think as Raptor fans, we've been spoiled. Like, we've been hella spoiled. We've had 7 straight years of Kyle Lowry. Okay?
Right.
Ask Miami Heat fan what that looks like, right? That's a guy who keeps you together. He's a guy who'll give you an earful if you start acting like a selfish chucker. And quite frankly, he's just a selfless guy. And when he's the guy making the decisions, the rest of the team kind of falls in line. You remove him out of the place, you basically have 3 guys chasing an all-star selection. And they're the most ball-dominant players I've ever seen. And it just doesn't look the same. And I'm thinking it's the same thing for the Kings right now. It's not necessarily selfishness, but ultimately this is a game. And when it stops being a game, it becomes a business. Right?
Right.
At the end of the day. And go ahead.
Look, the Kings are awful, so it's kind of hard to gauge the Raptors win. But what I can say is, and it was me defending Pascal a few episodes ago with you, I think he's getting, like his timing's coming back slowly but surely. As you pointed out, he's having one of the best offensive 4 games, or I don't know what you said, 4 or 5 games.
It was 4 games.
Yeah, 4 or 5, whatever. He looked good today, regardless of, the lack of defense. That's not his fault. Sometimes you just got to show up, and the good teams will beat the bad teams. That's simple. And when the bad teams play to the level of their competition, that makes you a bad team. So I applaud the Raptors for showing up today, taking care of business. That's what I wish that the Kings would do. I mean, they did that against Detroit, but Detroit is levels lower to the entire league. Just like Tristan Thompson said, they're battling for a top 3 seed. And for a player to say that in a press conference, that is speaking volumes. And he said, no disrespect to them, they play hard, but they're definitely tanking. They're definitely going for a top 3 pick. And I've never heard that in a press conference. Obviously, it made national news. I don't know what the NBA thought about that, because it's in a sense encouraging or highlighting tanking. But I like what the Raptors
Did Tristan
did today,
Thompson
bro.
get fined? Did Tristan Thompson get fined for that interview?
I was weird, but
He swore multiple times.
he swore like 10 times. Yeah, like he was like, I don't need an effing coach to inspire me. If I need an effing coach to inspire me.
I was so proud of him, to be honest.
He's
as a
Canadian.
I was so proud of him because it totally dispels the entire notion of Canadians just being a bunch of nice, like, thank you. It's like, this is amazing. This is like, I mean, it's not quite Allen Iverson's practice rant, but it's like it's 2021's Iverson practice rant. Like, we don't need Luke. But it's funny because it's like he did say the subliminal messaging is sort of interesting, because he says we don't need Luke Walton to like inspire us. We don't need a coach to inspire us. But it's kind of like if you remove a few words, it's basically we don't need Luke Walton. We don't need Luke Walton like 10 times.
I didn't even think about it that way. That's genius. So it's funny because you heard that and I heard something different. Because in that same rant, he said we don't have a LeBron, a Luka, and he named all these great players. And I'm like, he's indirectly taking a shot at Fox. Like, he is indirectly taking a shot. He said we have to win collectively. And I'm like, okay. So he just pretty much called out the franchise player who followed up, which was crazy. He followed up with the De'Aaron Fox way. Nonchalant, relaxed, don't really care, I don't want to be here. It was mind-blowing to me, bro, like, for real. And I'm just shocked at what you heard and then what I heard. Like, it's like they both can be true.
No, I get it. And I mean, like, Tristan Thompson's been on some really good teams, and he's also been on some really bad teams. And I haven't really seen him be a locker room cancer or anything like that. But to be honest, like, watching any team, like, I'll reflect this back to a situation that happened on set with me, right? And there was this, like, really toxic environment on set, and the sound guy, he quit after one day, right?
Oh,
and he was more, it was like a feature shoot, and he was just, like, done with it. And I thought about it, I'm like, man, we all struggled, but imagine listening to all the shit that he had to listen to that day, because he had the mics on the whole time, right? So he's listening
Oh
to like
man.
all the shit that everyone's talking about and stuff, and he's like, "Nah, fuck this shit, I'm out." Right? So after 15 hours, he's like, "I'm done." And I was like, "Damn, that's kind of interesting, because it's like that's kind of like what being on the inside must feel like. Because if you're a fan and you're watching your team go out there and
That's true.
the shot order is wrong and everything. I mean, these guys go back into the locker room, they have discussions, they exchange these awkward glances to each other. And it's like, to be a veteran on a team that's playing the wrong way, it must be infuriating, because you understand the right way, right? And so it's kind of like the NBA is full of guys who just clock in and clock out, right?
For sure. For
It
sure.
happens, right? There's so many guys like that. And then, if you're a guy who's like Scottie Barnes, or, like maybe Davion Mitchell or someone like that, someone who's like coming into the league with really good winning habits, watching a
Hmm.
bunch of selfish ass people just talking about, nah, that my contract doesn't say this and that, whatever, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. It's like it's all selfish, and you're just like, shit, this doesn't feel right to me. This is not the basketball I know. And you either adapt to that and you become that. And I've seen a lot of young players come in with the right habits, and then after 2 years of being around some toxic ass teammates, like they become that, right? They kind of adapt, because they're like, if I don't play like this, I'm not going to get the ball. So next time I get the ball, I better shoot, because if I give the ball up, I'm never getting it back, right? And some
Right.
people are saying, like, are you noticing some pretty questionable shot selection from Scottie Barnes? I'm like, if this guy passes the ball, he might not touch the ball for 6 minutes. What do you expect him to do, right? So it's like, yeah. So I think, I've talked a lot of shit about Greg Popovich being a little bit overrated,
Yeah.
because I think that Duncan was definitely, more responsible for the championships. But that's one thing I'll always respect about a Popovich coach team, is they don't play like this. No matter if they're bottoming out or if they're contending,
100%.
they never ever play this garbage brand of basketball, and that makes them fun to watch. I would rather watch the Spurs as a San Antonio fan win 25 games than watch this garbage, even if this does result in a play-in berth, because I know this style of basketball cannot win. It's impossible. You can never win this way, right? You cannot win going one
I
on
guess
five.
I,
You,
I, I guess the only takeaway, or sorry, not the takeaway, but the positive, that if they do make a play, which I had them 10th going into the season, and I think that's where they'll end up. And if they do win 2 games in the play-in to then make the 8 seed, the experience that Scotty's going to gain in year one will be priceless, because there's no expectations to win. Like, even if they get blown out, like, he's going to taste success his rookie season. That's a pretty good deal for me,
Mhm.
bro. So
I
that's
mean, look,
that would be
there
the
there are a
positive
lot of
for
teams.
me.
Yeah, there are a lot of teams in the East that are struggling right now.
Yeah.
Atlanta, we were all expecting Atlanta to be a playoff team. They don't look like one right now. I mean, they played a little bit better. I think they're playing a little bit better now, but they haven't looked great. New York hasn't looked great. Indiana has fallen off a cliff. There are a lot of teams out there, and there are some teams playing over their heads, right? Cleveland, right? Like
Hmm.
Cleveland's lost Sexton and now Mobley. They're probably going to fall back down to earth. Washington is like leading the East. Who the hell saw that coming? So I'm just saying the East is kind of open. I mean, apart from Miami and Chicago, no one's looked really great. I mean, Milwaukee's got their own problems. Philadelphia's got their own problems, right? So I think the frustrating
Brooklyn
thing as a
has their
Raptor
own
fan for me,
problems.
Brooklyn has Kyrie problems, right? But and look, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, fine. You tell me that we're not contending this year. I get that, but here's what I see. I see enough talent on this team
Oh,
to
for
be a
sure.
sneaky good playoff team, and I see a lot of that talent being either mismanaged, or overutilized or underutilized. I mean,
So is that on Nick
and I,
Nurse or no?
yeah, at this
Okay,
point, I have to
that's
say
fair.
it is on Nick Nurse,
Thank you.
because you
Thank
know
you.
what I mean. Like you've been saying this for about 15 games straight, right? It's on
Yeah.
coach, it's on coach, it's on coach, and I'm like, you know what? He's just letting the players figure it out. But in a weird way, right? Like there's a reason why Nick Nurse is going to have his job longer than Luke Walton's going to have his job, and that's
Right.
probably because Nick Nurse gets it. Like he gets ego management a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know enough about Walton to say exactly like whether he would have a conversation with a player where he'd be like, "You've shot too much tonight. I need you to take fewer shots." I mean, Nurse definitely will have that conversation with his role players, but in terms of star players, I mean, that whole issue with him and Siakam last year, it became a big thing. right? And it was a very, very brewing, it was like a powder keg in the locker room
Right.
where, you know what I mean? Like, and here's the problem, right? I remember Tim Duncan said it, Manu said it, Tony said it. If your best player, your de facto guy, allows himself to be coached, everything falls into line, right? So when you have Pascal
100%.
Siakam and this is your quote unquote number one guy, and he's throwing, he's throwing his hands up every time his coach says something to him, or he's storming off the court like he did last season. I mean, bygones be bygones. Must have been a tough season for him. All the mental health, all the whatever. Call it what it is. But at the end of the day, if your best player is not coachable, then it kind of has a ripple down effect on everybody else. It has a ripple down effect on how those people, because it's like you take marching orders from your leader, right? For young teams that lack a true leader, that leader is the coach, right? But you take it one step out of that, and then you have a franchise guy that you're treating like a franchise guy, paying like a franchise guy. If that guy is, if he's playing the wrong way, everyone else is gonna be like, I guess this is how the team plays, because that's your dictator, right? That's who dictates the pace. So, yeah. Are you still here? What are we doing here? Hang tight. We may have lost Leo.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so give me tonight's Medici's MVP of the game.
Do I have to?
Yeah.
Damn it. Okay, my MVP of the game is Scottie Barnes with 2 points.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
we're gonna call it. We're gonna call it the Draymond performance of the night. For Scottie Barnes, a selfless 1 for 8, impacting the game on all facets. I'm not biased at all. Yeah, I'm gonna give the ball. I'm gonna give the game ball to. How about OG Anunoby for not playing this game? Like, can we give him the player of the game? Yeah.
You can't give him the player of the game, man. This is hey. He has a clip of the game where he was giving Scottie Barnes a Cheeto, and then he saw me, and he's like, "Oh, I'm taking that back." That was the first thing that I put, so that was pretty funny to watch.
Yo,
that.
honestly, from Sam Decker had this funny IG story of Scottie putting sugar on his cornflake, right? And he said this is the grossest thing I've ever seen. And now we got OG offering Scottie Cheetos. I'm not sure what I'm more worried about: Scottie's diet or Scottie being frozen out.
Look at this. Offense. Look at this, y'all. Look at gave him the Cheeto. Yeah, he's eating it. Sneaky. And then OG sees him. He's like, "Oh," and then Goran's like, "We're not doing nothing. We're not doing nothing." You gotta like it. And then Yuta was looking good. He's almost ready, bro. So he should be another guy who knows how to play the game right. That guy knows how to play the game right.
Honestly, he does, and he's an unselfish player, and he's an awesome guy. And honestly, every single night, to me, it's a war. Like, I don't even look at the other team. I just look at who's playing for us, and I'm like, okay, number of selfish guys out versus number of selfless guys out. Like, is Cam playing? That's good. Is OG playing? That's good. You know what I mean? Is Banton playing? That's good. Scottie, good. And then it's like, we got Fred, and we got Siakam, and we got Gary Trent. The ball's not moving tonight. You know what I mean? So it's kind of weird. I feel this team is a tale of two teams, right? There's a side that I'm really rooting for, and there's a side that I'm really hoping gets traded. And I'm not really sure if
can you guys trade a Siakam or no?
Dude, I would trade Siakam for that bag of Cheetos that OG had. I honestly, no. I mean, obviously,
y'all are so spoiled. Raptor fans are so spoiled, man.
No, I do not speak for all Raptor fans. Don't throw that on Raptor fans. I am a very peculiar type of Raptor fan who has very basketball Puritan way of seeing the game, and I hate watching this style of basketball. I watched it in 2004 with Chris Bosh and Mike James, and I swore to myself I wasn't going to watch this shit anymore. So honestly, look, every player is an asset, right? Team building is all about managing assets. And I was going to say this last night. We didn't do a wrap-up show, but here's the thing. Would I rather that Gary Trent go out and be an end-of-bench player? No, of course not. We just signed him to a freaking contract. Of course I want him to play well, right? Would I like Siakam to come out and score 5 points like he did last game? Hell
Of course
no.
not.
I want him to score 30. I want him to score 30. Of course I want him to score 30, but I want him to score 30 so they can freaking trade him. Okay? That's the end of that's my end game here.
So
Because
would you
at the
trade
end
him
of the
for
day, look,
Tyrese?
no. I
What?
would like to
Tyrese
hold.
is the perfect fit for you guys. A real
Yeah,
point
but
guard who like runs the team and like shoots 40% from beyond the arc. Who's a
yeah,
selfless
we have a
player.
point guard. His name is Scottie Barnes. Okay, so I really have you been catching Karl Anthony Towns this year?
Kind of. He's kind of soft.
Dude, he's playing really well. He's been playing really well. I think
Wolves
he's
suck.
playing his way out of
Wolves.
Minnesota.
The Wolves suck.
I think his agent just said, "Look, play defense so that a good team will finally trade for you. Just play your ass out of here, and this team will be forced to trade you." Okay, total random aside. Do you think that the Suns and T Wolves should make a trade centered on Ayton and Karl
in
Anthony
a
Towns?
heartbeat. Like
I
if
think
they don't,
I think
that'd be so stupid.
I think it would be great, and they can and then that way the Suns have a title contender because they haven't looked much better with Ayton on the bench this year, and Karl Anthony Towns gives them something amazing to build with Devin Booker, I think. And honestly, the Wolves can just tank around Anthony Edwards, and yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. I didn't
That's a
like
fun
today's
proposal.
game.
That's
Yeah,
a fun proposal. I think that makes sense for
yeah,
both
no,
teams.
it really would. In terms of like what I would like in a Pascal Siakam trade, like honestly, I would love future assets and decent vets
Done.
who know how to play the game, right? Like future assets being like 2 firsts. Like I would like him to play himself up to a point where he can get 2 firsts back. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm wondering, have you seen this? Have you seen this report that the Sixers have 30 potential players that they would take back in a Simmons trade?
Yeah. You don't know what to think with Daryl Morey, man. And Isaac Perez, what camera did we use? We used a Sony A7 III, Sony A7 IV. But yeah, you don't know what to think about what this guy is doing, man. But in retrospect to you saying no, like if you had Tyrese, Bagley, and some future picks, I think that's a no-brainer for the Raptors. I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, of course you would, because you're a Kings fan.
No, because Tyrese fits perfectly to what the Raptors need.
You know what? It's really funny. Something really weird happened today.
What?
Marvin Bagley got off the bench, and I was rooting for him. I was rooting for Marvin
he's
Bagley.
Bad.
He's
so bad.
He is. You know what? It's partly because I really wanted him to have like 20 points or something, like some massive explosion of like offense, so that you guys can finally get something back for him. Part of that was that. Part of it is just because I feel bad for the dude. You know, he didn't ask to go number 2. He didn't, right?
He
It's not
did.
like
No, he did. He did. He asked to go number 1. He asked to go number 2. He legit
Okay.
asked for that.
He didn't ask them to pass on Luka. Okay, like I just
No,
feel
he
like
did.
it's a lot.
No, he did.
Okay, okay.
He did.
Let's be real. Players do not dictate where they go in the draft. All right. My point is, it's not his fault that they passed on Luka for him. Right. It's not his fault. And Kings fans have been killing him forever. And I'm telling you right now, as an objective observer of basketball, he's very talented. He still has a lot of talent. There aren't 10 players in the league his size who move as well as him. Okay. So all of this shit aside, I think you need to, I don't know. I think here's a larger, you know what? You have given me a lot of observations about the Raptors. If I may, I'll give you an observation. I think you have a lot of Kings fans watching right now.
Yeah.
Let me give you an observation that I've kind of picked up on the Kings, right? Something is rotten in Denmark. There is something at the core of this franchise, dude. Something at the core of this franchise over the last 15 years, whether you want to talk about ownership, management, something, right? There is a cultural identity. And I'll tell you right now, as a Raptor fan, the reason that I'm not completely panicked about how the team is playing is because I know that this culture that we've built wasn't built by accident. And that when players play this way, they will get traded. Like I know that the Raptors are not going to let a team go out and be this way for an entire year. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. So my point is, I don't know if the Kings culture, you bring everyone into your culture and you teach them how to be a king, right? I don't know what being a Sacramento King looks like right now. I don't know what that means. I don't know who the guy is in the locker room who's going to be like, that's not how we do shit here. You don't get to do that here. So, in order for that to happen, you either need to
100%.
have a coach who's been there and has the trust of management. You cannot have a coach who's kind of in, kind of out, because no one's going to listen to that guy in the first place if he's not giving them, like, you know what I mean? So,
Well, it's a new
whoever.
GM. So wait. It's so just to give you context, it's a new GM, and Monty McNary came from Houston under the Daryl Morey umbrella. Luke Walton isn't his guy, but the problem is he had a chance to fire him, albeit owners didn't want to pay Luke Walton his guaranteed $5 and I think guaranteed $5 next year. So that kind of makes sense in the pandemic. They don't want to pay people. But as a GM, if you offer me the job, I need to bring my own guy. Period. But he inherited him, but he also had a choice to fire him. And he said it, even if he didn't mean it in the press conference, like you always take press conferences like literally. So he said, Luke is my guy. I trust Luke, so guess what? We gonna blame Monty and hold him accountable because he kept Luke Walton on. Like you don't fire Luke Walton right now. Where, I mean, you can,
Okay.
but
I
you should have
mean,
fired him in the beginning of the year. And to your point about culture, I always talk about Raptors culture, right? Raptors culture, Raptors culture. The Kings don't have that. That is the difference.
no, I agree.
A guy like
I agree.
Shvi, whatever that bum's name
See,
is, he
he's not a bum. Stop
he's a
calling him a
bum.
bum. He's one
He's
of
a
the
bum,
few players that I really like on this team. Come on.
he's a
Put some
bum,
respect on his name.
and he showed it
No,
again
he's not.
tonight. Like he's a bum.
He was
So,
awesome.
but see, he looks halfway decent because he's inside Raptors culture now. That's my point.
No, he looks halfway decent because he's a really good player. Okay, look, Svi aside, 'cause you were never going to get me. He's awesome, man. Honestly, he's probably one of the best players in the league at his price, guaranteed. You guys be lucky to have him right now. Okay, I'm gonna say this. Okay,
Man. Oh, thanks.
every GM who takes over a shit show, right, and like the conversation that they would have had with ownership when he took the job, right, and I can't blame him for taking the job, even though there
Right.
are GMs in this league right now who would not take the Kings job
Right.
or the Knicks job or a lot of jobs that frankly come with owners that are meddly or maybe not people you really want to trust with your career reputation. But I will say this, keeping a coach on who isn't your coach is a get out of jail free card, because when the team struggles, it's just on him. And then now when you replace your coach, it's like, well, it was an interim, it was this, it was that. We have to give it a full training camp. You just
Yep.
extended your entire tenure by an entire year. So why would you bring in your own coach and then, the risk is that it doesn't work and now you're the guy who put the coach in place, you're the guy who put the players in place, there's no one to blame, right? So right now Marvin Bagley is a casualty of a lack of culture, and you know what, this will always hurt young players most, right? So you want to say that guaranteed that Luka would have thrived under the Kings? Maybe,
Guaranteed.
because he is that type. I don't know about guarantees, but I will
Guaranteed.
say that
Guaranteed.
there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees.
There
with
are
young players.
guarantees. When you're great, you are great. When you put the work in, the work is the work, no matter what. You said it earlier. A ton of guys that just clock in, clock out, and that is a fact of life.
Right.
And I have witnessed it covering this league for 8 years now. I have witnessed it with my own two eyes. There are guys that are gym rats and guys that are just like the 8 to 5. Trust me, there's a lot of those guys.
But you can't guarantee. You cannot guarantee me that Luka would have pulled the Kings out of.
Yeah.
Come on. Okay.
Yeah,
so
you can.
my point is, okay, Luka is a special player. Okay, and there's like one of those in every 2 drafts. Okay, but aside from him, the average young player would have struggled with the Kings, and no matter how good Davion is, no matter how good Rashawn Holmes is, no matter how good all your young players are, ultimately they are victims of organizational culture, right? These are not superhumans. These are not cyborgs. They're not robots. They're human beings, right? If you work in a toxic environment, you're going to be unmotivated to come to work. You work in a great environment. That's why Google invests so much money in this research, right? You want your employees to be happy, right? I remember having this really random conversation with a player who shall not be named for the Dallas Mavericks in 2003. And they were talking about how they went to Mark Cuban at that time and they had him do like this huge infrastructural redo of their locker rooms just to make them like a little bit happier. And he obliged, right? Things like that are what cheap organizations or organizations who are always pinching pennies. I mean, I'm surprised the Suns are doing as well as they are right now. They probably rallied around themselves against their own, owner. But that's the type of scandal that can kill a team and
Yep.
it can kill a season, right?
Yep.
So I don't know. I see it as, when you come into an organization, you meet the general manager, you meet the people, and then that has a ripple effect, right? If your general manager, owner, et cetera, are incompetent or insecure, they will always hire people that don't threaten their authority. Always, right? So your owner is going to hire a general manager who doesn't push his buttons. Your general manager is going to hire a coach who lets him do what he wants to do. Your coach is going to hire assistant coaches who let him do what he's going to do. And it's just a trickle down effect. And no one can override the effect of the first guy, the first motion, the first movement. And that's why, even though I think Masai Ujiri is a little bit overrated as a talent evaluator and a little bit overrated as, right? Even if I will agree with that, because this is a guy who literally passed on so many good players and so many drafts and has made so many disastrous decisions in terms of free agency, he's still like a great human being in terms of culture building. If he's your first buck, exactly, when he's your first buck, he can read people. He puts people in place who challenge him. Bobby Webster challenges him endlessly. Dan Tolzman challenges him endlessly.
Bobby Webster is the guy. Like Bobby is the guy. Honestly, like I truly believe
amazing.
Scottie Barnes was like his pick.
I do too. It's exactly the type of player he's always valued.
Right.
And I'll guarantee you that he had Masai's blessing on that. But what I'm saying is Bobby Webster does not exist in Toronto if Masai is not who he is. Because if you're threatened about who you are, you would never bring this type of genius into your organization.
That's true.
Right? You never would. And if Bobby Webster and Masai Ujiri were like Vivek Ranadive, I don't know the guy personally, but I've seen enough of him at this point in my life over the last 10 years to tell you I don't like him. And if that guy, the guy making, you're not going to enable a coach to confront an issue. You're not going to empower anybody. So I think that the Kings, look, there's a theory in philosophy called false consciousness. False consciousness means redirecting anger and hatred towards somebody else. Now, for a Kings fan out there who's looking at this game, they're like, Marvin Bagley's a bum. Luke Walton needs to be fired. That's where I'm directing my hate, right, against this organization. And then whoever put everything in charge, the structures that be, they get off. Because all of your frustration is on that freaking guy at the end of the bench who can't get minutes, and this 22-year-old kid who's having his freaking entire career derailed, and everyone's saying it's his fault. Right. And I'll guarantee you right now, he is talented. Like, I know talent. I know basketball talent. He's freaking talented as hell. OK, he may not be a superstar and he's never going to be better than Luka Doncic. But this is definitely a guy who, if drafted in a different situation, will be a serviceable starting power forward. He is more talented than Pascal Siakam. 100%. He is more talented than him. He's not better than him.
That is a hot take. That is a hot take. Stop.
Talent. Dude, talent. I'm talking pure talent. I'm talking passing ability.
Pascal Siakam can actually guard people. Pascal Siakam can actually pass the ball. Pascal Siakam can actually shoot the three.
I'm not talking impact. I'm not talking impact. I'm not saying that he's better, but I'm telling you right now, at 20 years old, or at 20, when was Marvin Bagley drafted? 19?
22.
He was 19.
22. He's almost 23.
When he was, no, I know that, but when was he drafted? At 19?
18. 2018.
He wasn't 18.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 2018, I will tell you right now, Marvin Bagley as a draft prospect coming into the draft out of college was a considerably better player than Pascal Siakam at the same age. 100%. Like 1,000%. Like night and day better.
But the NBA isn't like a one-year wonder. It's a can you put your head down and work fucking hard and actually put your ego aside, bro? Like, no, because Metu literally tonight, a guy that got drafted, I think, 50th, 60th by the Spurs in that same class, has already beaten Marvin Bagley, same 18 class. He's actually worked hard, had his wrist broken last year, a guy that doesn't take shit for granted, works his ass off, and guess what? He is now starting. He is better than Marvin Bagley already, and that's the type of stuff that I love to see. Not the, I'm entitled, I was supposed to be this. Bro, you're not that good. Like, he's not that good. And perception is everything in life. Literally in life, not just in basketball. Just because he got drafted number 2 doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean a single thing. Yes, he was a better prospect coming into the draft, but guess what? In the big boys league, this big ass core behind me, guess what? Real hoopers hoop. No matter what age you are, no matter where you come from, because guess what? Everybody was the best player in college. So
Okay.
that's what Bagley had to realize. Like, okay,
Okay.
maybe I'm not
So
that good. No,
are you telling me that the Raptors are so good at scouting that we just never draft bad players? Or is it possible that we have just an incredible development plan for every player that we draft, and that when players struggle, we deal with it properly, right? This is a great development program. Is an excellent development program. But why is it that way?
Bagley
Because
got
there's a
Dave Yeager
method.
fired. Bagley's father got Dave Yeager fired. Just to add some context to you, Bagley's dad is a bad influence, and it comes to a point where just like Lonzo Ball and LeVar Ball, he had to put
Mhm.
the family business aside. He had to grow up as a man, mature as a man before he said, "Hey, Dad, I'm gonna step aside from the brand for a little bit. I'm gonna go with Nike, build my own stuff, and when I mature as a man and I make my own decisions," he became a better player. Why? Because he matured as a human being. Marvin
We're
Bagley is
talking about
too
Lonzo.
easily. Yes, and Marvin Bagley's going through the exact same thing. Number 2 pick, crazy dad who likes to talk. The only reason you don't hear him talk as much is because me and everybody in the media here in SAC, we don't have a microphone in his face like LeVar did. And he is just as bad as LeVar Ball, and he is just as cancerous as LeVar Ball, and that's been one of the biggest issues. So to give you some context on Marvin Bagley, that is a huge, just, again, does he have
Okay.
bloodlines, NBA bloodlines? Yeah, but bro, at some
Okay.
point, you have to outwork and like actually earn your playing time. You can't go
Bro,
off of life
you wouldn't
based
be
on
talking about
potential.
Lonzo. You wouldn't be talking about Lonzo right now if it wasn't for LeVar Ball. That's the truth, right? I mean, look, honestly, we have an endemic of of absent fathers, okay,
For
in the
sure.
minority community.
LeVar
Okay?
Ball is a
No,
great
no, no,
father. LeVar Ball is a great
okay,
father.
that's
I will never deny that. Never.
right.
But that doesn't
But
mean
that's
that
my
at some point he should have just closed his damn mouth and just let him go. Like, you got what you wanted. Like, you got him to get drafted to the Lakers. Just stop.
okay, look, I'm gonna say this, right? For a kid growing up, there's nothing more important. I know we're not even talking about basketball right now. We're talking life. There's nothing more important than knowing that your parent has your back, no matter what. Okay, that is literally childhood 101. Talk about trauma bonding, everything. It just comes down to, does my parent have my back, or is love conditional? Lavar Lavar has given his sons unconditional love. There's nothing that Lonzo, LaMelo, or LiAngelo can do to disappoint this guy to the point where he's not going to have their back. He will always defend them. Right now, I have as many criticisms as you do towards his attention-seeking behavior, his ludicrous claims. I'm not for it. I'm not really about that stuff. But I will say this, right? It's like, you cannot expect the child who grew up with a father like that to then distance themselves from the father unless they have something strong to hold on to. Now, NBA coaches, you can talk about a lot of coaches, trainers, GMs, etc. They become like second fathers. You look at how many times has Greg Popovich referred to himself as daddy? How many times? I've had a dime for every time he's done that. There is a paternal instinct that comes into NBA coaching, college coaching, etc., and that's just the truth. And for Marvin Bagley to feel secure to let go of that and to see that for what it is, his toxic father, he has to feel that someone in the Kings organization has his back. And I don't know if he does. Now, I don't know enough. I don't want to talk out of my ass, but I'm just saying, based on what I've seen from the Kings over the last 10 years, I mean, this was my favorite team growing up because of Pedro Stojakovic and Vlade Divac. I mean, this is a far cry from the Kings that I grew up watching. Far cry. And there was some stability with the Maloof brothers. There was some semblance of stability with Rick Adelman. There was some leadership, and there was a consistency of winning, and there was an expectation that if you saw a Kings game, it was going to be a good game, and there was a brand of basketball,
I
and there was a
look,
cultural identity, and it's just gone now.
I concur with you about did Bagley ever feel like someone had his back besides his dad? The answer is yes, because his organization handed him minutes when they should have never allowed that. He had to earn those minutes. He never did. Guys like Bielica, who you know what he is. I mean, he's Serbian, right? Like
Yeah.
that did not run well with the locker room because they kept giving Bagley minutes, kept starting him when they knew that the
Mhm.
Kings were much better with Bielitsa on the floor. And those are the
Okay.
little things that people don't realize that like when they say, "Oh, the Kings haven't had his back," like the Kings have given Marvin Bagley every chance to succeed or to fail. And that's the thing. And I do agree with you. There are certain situations where the organization and the way screwed over the player, but that wasn't the case here, and that's why it bugs me so much that a kid's so entitled that he should just start because he was the top prospect in high school or the number two
I
pick.
don't.
Like
I don't think.
that don't
First of
mean
all, I want
shit.
to say two counterpoints to that. Number one, nobody becomes a second player in the draft, second player selected in the draft by accident. There's a lot of hard work that went into that. There's a lot of effort. He had a great
I'm not
college
saying that.
career. He was an awesome player. Okay, so here's the evidence. There's a great player in
So
high
did Derek
school, a great
Williams.
player in
So did every number two pick that was a bust in the last 10 years. And there's been a lot of number
okay.
two busts, like a lot of them.
Okay, there's a lot of substance abuse. There's a lot of cultural stuff. There's a lot of childhood trauma. There's a lot of
For
just
sure.
make it to the league and then
Agreed.
get leached on.
Hmm.
But what I'm saying is that doesn't generally happen to players who come up in the Spurs or in the Raptors or in the Heat. And so why is that? Is it that the Heat and the Raptors and the Spurs are just so good at doing background checks and not picking those players to begin with who have crazy fathers and weird friends and bad influences in their lives or trauma in their lives, or are they just really stable organizations that provide the type of nurturing environment that a young man needs? And then my second counterpoint to that is every top pick, top 2, top 3, top 4, top 5 is a asset and a commodity for a team. Okay, it's a marketing commodity. It's hope that you present to your fan base in order
For
to
sure.
sell tickets. Do not confuse it. Okay, but for a young man, any young man who has grown up, in tough situations, you learn to read when you are being used and when you are actually loved. And that's what I'll say. As much as I despise how personally attached Masai gets to certain players. I mean, he was literally like on the fence about trading DeMar for Kyle because for Kawhi because he saw DeMar as like like this family, and he's had that sort of father relationship with a lot of guys. There's that sort of bond. That's important. That weirdly enough, it's not. Look at Daryl Morey. I mean, for all his brilliance, how much success has he had? Does anyone feel that they can connect to that guy? Does anyone feel every freaking organization that he's been part of? I'm surprised people don't talk about it enough. James Harden wanted out. Ben Simmons wants out. Why? There is a ripple effect of a guy who doesn't understand people. Now, the thing you said about they gave him minutes. Yeah, of course, no shit they gave him minutes. You're not going to spend number 2 pick, hype it to your fans as a number 3 pick, number 4 pick, and all these other picks are getting minutes, and your number 2 pick's going to sit at the end of the bench because he's not ready. It's your job to make sure that he's ready. It's his job to make sure he's ready. Okay, it goes two
Okay,
ways,
thank you.
dude. It
Okay,
goes two
thank you.
ways.
Okay,
No,
thank
no, no.
you.
It's a two-way street. It's a partnership, and that's what I've heard Masai and Bobby talk about this a lot. Every player, and their performance, their contract, etc. It's a partnership. They don't see it as a dictatorship. They see it as a partnership. It's our
That's
job
why
as an
you guys
organization,
win.
but that's exactly it, right? And I have seen the Rob Babcock years, and I've seen the Brian Colangelo years, and I can tell you that organizational stability is not something that I will ever take for granted in my life ever again, because when it goes, the hope goes with it, right? I have a lot of hope in this franchise, even tonight notwithstanding, last night notwithstanding, this entire season so far notwithstanding, because I trust the people who make decisions on this team that they will get this right at some point, right? But if Rob Babcock was in charge, like shit, dude. I mean, what was it? What was it? David Kahn for the Minnesota
Mm-hmm.
Timberwolves.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine being a player on the Minnesota Timberwolves and watching your team pass on Steph Curry for Johnny Flynn and Ricky Rubio. Like, just imagine. And the next year, you're supposed to like take that guy seriously. You're supposed to trust that the coach he hired is a good idea. Like that type of that trust, it fades so quickly. It's so hard to build up. It's so quick to lose. And I'm sorry. I mean, keeping Luke Walton when it's so obvious the players don't want to play for him because you don't want to pay this guy, that's going to burn out your locker room real fast because they don't want to play for this guy. I can tell they don't want to play for him, right? But then the guy that you replace him with, you've already set the precedent that we can fire a coach. Like, there is no stability there. Like, when you go to San Antonio, you have a problem with Greg Popovich, tough shit. Move on. Right? I'm not saying that every coach is going to have the type of tenure that Pop did, but having that sort of stability.
Nick
And I
Nurse
mean,
might.
look, I mean, the Boston Celtics had it.
Nick Nurse might have that type of stability.
Sorry, I doubt it. I mean, he did win a championship, so that I think that grants you 2 years of sucking. But you know, if the locker room completely shifts on, no, you know what? You're right. He does have the trust of the front office, and I hope that the players understand that the front office is behind him. They trust him, you know, and they're gonna ride with him, right? But then when the players understand that dynamic, that relationship between the decision makers and the guy that's your bench boss is strong, they have no choice. They have to listen, right?
100%.
I honestly, you're gonna hate me for saying this. I don't think Luke Walton's a bad coach. I don't think he's a bad coach. I think he's also a victim of this entire culture. I really do. I think in a different situation he could thrive. I think there's a disjointedness between him and front office. I don't know. Do you know anything about that? Maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. Like,
I will say that he's not a good head coach. I think he's a very good lead assistant coach, and that's the problem with the Kings is that they have a lot of assistants on this team, like Alvin Gentry. I can't think of anybody else that'd be like that's been a head coach, but they have a lot of assistant coaches. And to your point, yes, the Kings have always done everything backwards. Like they always hire the coach first, then the GM follows, and they never get a clean slate. Like you always hire the GM, and then the GM gets his guy, and they've always done it backwards since Vivek's era started. So you're right. The culture is just not what it should be, and that was my biggest criticism. Was like, okay, if you're gonna hire Monty McNair, Monty needs a clean slate. Like he needs a clean house, bring in his own people. He traded Bogey because Bogey was Vladdy's guy. So I understood it. I didn't agree with it because you let him walk for nothing and you got no assets out of it. But again, I was like, okay, well, he's letting them do whatever he wants. But the problem is, like you said, even if you have to pay $10 million, you got to get rid of the guy because it's the right thing to do. And they didn't do it. And now you're seeing a shit product on the floor, and you're seeing a team that's just clocked out from Luke Walton. And to your point, I've seen enough from him in terms of the Lakers' tenure. I've seen enough with him with the Kings to where I won't say he's a bad coach, but I will say that he's not head coach material. And you don't ever know if you're head coach material until you become a head coach, if that makes any sense.
no, that's true. And I mean, you know, I think from the people are different in different situations. There are coaches
Yeah.
who frankly could not coach your Sacramento Kings, even though they're Hall of Fame coaches, right? I'm pretty sure that based on this roster construction, if you got Rick Adelman to come out of retirement tomorrow, he couldn't coach this team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a style that you want to play as a coach. There's a type of personality. Veteran.
Wait.
police themselves.
Seabass said Luke was good on the Warriors. Just stop it, bro. Everybody's good on the Warriors, man. Like no
He was
shit.
41-0. He was 41-0.
He also had the best team to ever pretty much be assembled. So that's not that impressive because
that team was undefeated under him, and they lost a lot under Kerr the rest of the year. I'm just saying, like, if that's exactly my point, though, right? Steph, Draymond, Clay, that locker room polices itself. Okay, let's be
right.
real.
That's a
Okay?
self-sufficient team. Like everybody can coach that team. Like when Steve Kerr
that's not
goes
true.
out, that is true because what's his name? The coach for the Cavs that ended up coaching them as well when Steve went out. LeBron's coach.
Ty Lue?
No.
What are you talking about? David Blatt?
The guy
LeBron's
that
coach.
was, yeah, he was a Cavs coach, and he coaches Team Nigeria.
Ask your comments. Someone tell us in the comments who that was. I'm not hearing it. Yeah.
So the assistant that took over Steve Kerr when he went out recently, like I can't think of his name, but that's my point.
I know exactly.
Yeah, like everybody can coach that team, bro. Like that's not saying much to me.
Okay, but I'm
Mike
just saying
Brown.
I've heard a lot.
Mike Brown. Mike Brown.
Okay, like I'm not saying that. Like, I just think you're not giving Luke Walton credit in terms of the type of coach he is. To be
He's been
honest,
bad for
I mean,
6 years.
beyond this system.
He's been
Hmm?
bad for 6 years. 3 with the Lakers, 3 with the Kings, and his one good year, he had one of the greatest teams ever. How is that fair, first and foremost, when we see guys like Silas, African American coaches always getting fired because they have shit teams, and then Luke gets like the nod and gets one of the greatest teams ever, and all of a sudden he's a great coach. He gets a job in LA, then he gets a job in Sacramento without really interviewing anybody. Come on, bro. Like, there's a lot of politics to this, and that's why he's not a good head coach. He's had enough opportunities to learn from his own mistakes. He never makes an adjustment. Not never. He rarely makes an adjustment. And again,
Hmm.
how do you come out the third quarter being down 18 and getting smacked by Pascal Siakam with like 7 straight points? Come on, bro. Like,
Right.
it's ridiculous.
No, I'll agree with you. I can't remember the last time I saw Pascal Siakam being guarded this stupidly in my life. But at the same time, like, this team is not. It's again, it trickles down from the top. I'm telling you right now,
Oh, for sure.
there are organizations like this. Um, God, I'm trying to think. The Clippers in like the early 2000s, they were like this. Like, you just went there and you're like, fuck, I, when am I out? Like, you just hate it, right? The Kings have been like that for a while. I realize you probably don't see that necessarily because you are a Kings fan and you are there. But the perception around the league is, this is kind of where careers go to die. It's kind of like
Yeah.
how you see the Cavs
It's
without
basketball
LeBron.
hell.
It's right. It is.
Rudy Gay said that,
And
by the way. Rudy Gay said it's basketball hell.
right. And I mean, like, okay, consider the optics of what OKC is doing right now, right? Now, if
Yeah.
you're a young player like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Poku or someone like that coming up in OKC, right? I mean, how do you perceive your team sitting out vets for half a year, sitting out players for half a year to tank for lottery balls? I mean, and then what's going to happen with your 19, 20 picks, whatever? No one's going to trade for those now, right? It's like, I feel like the league is going to collectively move against ever trading, and they're going to have to draft 20 players over the next 8 years. Now, what I'm saying is, if you're a player in that locker room, you're probably looking around at yourself saying, so I guess winning is not important here.
Right.
And then eventually you're gonna be able to parlay 3 or 4 of those picks to get the type of player, and then that player's gonna come and they're gonna be like, okay, now we're winning, now we're going for championships. And it's like, yeah, we don't know how to do that because we've been losing for 3 years because we've been trying to lose. Like, it doesn't work that way. That's why I hate tanking. I really appreciate
Say
the
no to
fact that you have
tanking.
a shirt that says say no to tanking, but it's like, that's why, because the residue of losing on an organization, it stays. It doesn't just go away in 1 year.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, unless you lose the way the Spurs lost with the Admiral, like just stretching an injury out a little bit, but keeping the organization clean, and then bringing in a generational superstar like Tim Duncan or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, losing is a habit. Winning is a habit too, right?
That's habits,
Consistently
bro.
winning.
I said this last year. It's building habits. What are you telling De'Aaron
Exactly.
Fox or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? Like, it's okay to lose, and it's not okay to lose. It's not okay to lose.
Yeah.
You have to go out there and try to win the game. Even if you lose, it's about the process, not the result, man. The process has been shitty for that team. I get it. In hindsight, or in the eyes of some people, oh my God, they got 1,000 picks. Like, okay, how many of those picks are actually going to turn out to be good? First and foremost, and on top of that, you're building a losing culture. And Oklahoma has been none but really successful for a long time. And now, like, that aura is gone. It's gone.
You remember Jimmy Butler on the Timberwolves?
Yeah.
Their sole playoff berth in like the last 12 years.
Yep.
One player. That's the difference. Is he way more talented than Karl Anthony Towns? Hell no. No, he's not. Get out of here. He's not. Right?
Oh wait, no,
But
I was nodding the comments that
yeah.
listen to you.
But that's exactly my point, right? Like, having one guy who does not tolerate losing. I mean, how many times did Jimmy
You
Butler
said he's not
butt
as
heads with
talented
the
as Cat?
Hell no.
Oh,
Get out of
okay.
here. He's not more talented than Karl Anthony Towns.
What does that
But
mean,
that's
though?
the-
What
it
does that
means
mean? Because he's a better player than Cat.
No, he's not.
Oh my God. Okay.
No, he's not. He impacts
Oh my
winning more, but he's not.
God.
Dude,
He's a better
are you
basketball
kidding?
player. There's not a head coach in the league that would take, well, a smart one. I tell you what, Nick Nurse would take Jimmy Butler over Cat any day of the week. Any
No,
day of
he
the
wouldn't.
week. Yes, he
No,
would.
he wouldn't.
If
No,
you start,
Because Nick Nurse
if
is
you
not an
start a
idiot, and he
team,
knows that he.
no, if you start a team with like 0, are you starting with Karl Anthony Towns over Jimmy Butler? Are you serious?
Any GM and any coach in the world would do that. Are you kidding me? Do you watch Karl Anthony Towns? Have you watched the Timberwolves game all year?
Have you watched the
Dude,
T-Wolves be awful under his leadership, quote unquote leadership?
you understand that the Sixers chose not to re-sign Jimmy Butler, right? That's where he was at that
And
point
look
in
what
his
happened to
career.
the
That he could just,
Sixers. And look what happened to the Sixers.
yeah. Last I checked, they were like what, number 1 in the East last year. That's not
And
the
they
point. Like,
and they choked.
look. Oh my God. Okay.
And they
My
signed
point
Tobias
is,
Harris. Oh wait, and they signed Tobias Harris to the worst contract ever. Okay, great analogy, Robert.
okay, it was pretty bad. But what I'm saying is that one guy, Jimmy Butler, impacts winning. Kyle Lowry impacts winning. PJ Tucker impacts winning. Bam Adebayo impacts winning. So it doesn't really matter that Tyler Hero doesn't have the best winning habits. He has to play that way because there's 4 guys who are kind of forcing his hand, right? I mean, that's kind of my point. If you're the Sacramento Kings right now, everyone's looking at talent. Talent's not the issue. Harrison Barnes, plenty talented. Okay. Rashawn Holmes, plenty talented. Marvin Bagley, plenty talented, right? You may not agree with that. A lot of talent on this team. Not a lot of leadership and not a lot of guys who just come in and just say, nah, we're not going to lose. And I don't know if they have that with Tristan Thompson. I don't know if he's
Guys.
good enough.
There are 0 guys
Right.
who have leadership on this team.
Right. And that's exactly it. But one guy like Jimmy Butler, right? And even the freaking Timberwolves with Karl Anthony Towns, super immature guy, and inconsistent motor. Anthony, like look at what Andrew Wiggins is doing this year. He's looked better. He has looked way better the last 2 years. Why? You think it's magic? Is a magic trick? Is he suddenly working harder? It's not that, dude. It's just the culture. It's the organizational culture. You bring guys
it does help
out of
when you
bad
have
culture.
Steph Curry. It does help when you have Steph Curry and you're not the number 1 or 2 option. Like, it helps.
I mean, honestly, last year he was the number 2 option. With Clay out, with no Jordan Poole, he was the number 2 option next to Steph, okay? So he was playing exactly the same role that he was playing in Minnesota, and he was better. He was way better. He's dialed in on defense suddenly. Because why? Because you have Draymond at the end of bench who's not going to let you fucking not like, I mean, if you have a guy like Draymond Green on your team, like I will remember this one moment for like my entire life. Not that I'm ever going to call Chris Bosh a good leader, but there was this one game where Andrea Bargnani, I think it was in 2007, he was just really mailing it in, and it was against the Golden State Warriors when the Warriors were kind of trash. And Bargnani just missed a rebound, as he often did, and Bosh just yelled at him. He's just like screaming on the bench. He finished that game with 6 blocks and like 10 rebounds. Like it's the hardest game he's ever played in his life. And it's just like, if you had Draymond on your team, that's every game. Because those guys don't let you sag like that. They don't let you come out with a game. Like, somebody should take this personally. This game right here, if I was a Sacramento Kings fan, this is an embarrassment. This game is an embarrassment. You let the Toronto
title
Raptors
of the show.
walk in.
That's the title of the show.
I mean, you let a team that literally just got their asses handed to them last night against the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz, Rudy Gay was a better player last night than any player on the Raptors, and Rudy Gay is trash. Okay, and that's just a fact. He's not that good. We made him look. Honestly, I was like, what the is that Rudy Gay on his first game in months?
Who played in the G League like 3 days ago, by the way.
Yeah, to get reps. And that's the funny thing, because I'm like, it's funny because like Raptor fans were like, oh, Pascal Siakam, he hasn't played in months. And it's like, Rudy Gay just came out and like embarrassed him. He just scored like 16 points, 18 points. He was amazing. But that's the thing, right? It's like, I mean, Hassan Whiteside, like Rudy Gobert, like, I mean, I saw a possession last night where Pascal Siakam had the ball in the post against Donovan Mitchell. And by the way, 6'2" Donovan Mitchell, right? 6'9" Pascal Siakam, 6'10" Pascal Siakam, pretty big dude, right? Has him in the post. That's supposed to be bully ball. That's supposed to be something. Grabs the ball, gets pushed out 5 feet, hands the ball back. I'm like, that's your all-star? That's your all-star right there. That shit's embarrassing. And this team that was just embarrassed last night against Utah comes in and does the same thing to Sacramento. And this is not a revenge game. Honestly, if Sacramento showed up, I told Raptor fans last night, like I was gonna tell them last night if we did the review show, if we don't bring our game, like the Sacramento Kings are gonna blow us out. And now I'm thinking we could have sleepwalked through this game and y'all still would have lost, because it's like it just didn't show up. I swear to God, I think they purposely lost this game. I feel like they purposely lost this game.
Me too. I do.
Yeah, it's a message to the coach. Yeah.
Like facts. Like that's a fact. They didn't want to play today.
Yeah, it's just not professional though. But
no,
I mean, like if this wasn't a deliberate
you're
loss,
right. You're right. It's not professional. That's awful. That to me as a competitor, that's something that you don't do. And like Tristan said, you don't have to play for the coach. Play for your teammates. Play for yourself.
Damn, play for yourself, dude. I don't know how you play like this, collect a check, and then go home and sleep at night. I really don't. I'm being honest.
I don't either.
Like
I
understand that it's a business, and I understand, like, you know, people are like, oh well, we hold players to such a high standard because, you know, do any of us go into the office and just have a day where we just don't bring it? And that's fair. That's fair. I've had days like that. I've had days where I just browse Facebook on a computer. I get it. You know, that's fair, right? But this has become more than just one game. Like, this is a few games for both these teams, quite frankly. The Raptors have had some very unprofessional exhibits of effort and intelligence this past year as well. And honestly, this was going to be one of them as well. Like, I mean, I looked at the way the team was playing in the first quarter. I'm like, they're going to lose this game. And then second quarter starts, and the Kings are like, no, we're done. We're just not going to play anymore. Y'all came to play even a little bit. All right, we're not fighting for this. And it's just like, yeah, is that on coach? Is it on coach? Yeah, because you know what? Part of being a professional coach in the NBA is managing egos and understanding, getting a pulse of your team. 100%. And if your team really didn't want to play and you were just going to play the end of your bench, then pull your starters sooner. Shit, you know, when it's clear, send the message. I mean, did they need to pull Tyrese? I don't think Tyrese was mailing it in. Why did he pull Tyrese? I mean, Fox was playing okay. Why did he pull him? You know, if Harrison Barnes is a problem, bench Harrison Barnes. You know, if we're I don't know.
Closing thoughts, brother. Give me your closing thoughts.
There were no winners tonight. Those are my closing thoughts.
I love it, man. My brother Robert, because if we're
gonna keep playing like this, we're gonna end up in the lottery, right? And if we're ending up in the lottery, I want Chet Holmgren, right?
You might get a center,
like a top 3 pick. Yeah, we might actually get a center.
Oh my gosh! Hey man, I appreciate you, Rob, for spending it, because I know it's late over there. It's probably 3 a.m. over there, almost midnight here at the arena. We got a lot of people still cleaning up. Appreciate that, because tomorrow the Kings have a tough task, and this will be the 3rd time they're going up against Utah. They've battled them very tough. They should have won both games. They didn't. Will they do it tomorrow with a new fresh face, a new voice, or will it be the same voice? If it's the same voice, I'm going to say it now. Bet the Jazz. They're going to just destroy them. Bet the spread, whatever the spread is. If it's a new voice, they could come out and just win the game, but who knows? It was tough tonight.
Fox is going for 50. Let's see what happens.
It was tough tonight, but I appreciate all Raptors Nation. If you guys haven't checked out all the content we had, the behind the scenes, all the reels, all the shorts, the YouTube shorts, make sure you guys check them out. Share them on Facebook. Oh man, that was funny, man. Cheetos.
That's gotta be a meme, bro.
That has to be a meme, man. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Robert. God bless you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Peace.